So this morning I wanted to talk a little bit about making tax digital. Making tax digital, HMRC are moving forward with their plans for this, which will involve digital record keeping. Paper records will no longer meet the requirements for tax legislation. So that is an important point to make here. And returns will be paperless. So what does this mean? It's for VAT, it means that there is a timeline for compliance, and from April 2020, MTD did apply to any businesses with a turnover above the VAT threshold, which is currently 85,000. But from April 2022, any business that is VAT registered, even if they're below the threshold for VAT, will have to register for MTD and will have to file their returns through that process. From April 2023, MTD will also become mandatory for the self-employed and partnership businesses, taxpayers with an income from property, and this will apply to any income for those sectors with income sources above £10,000. So anybody who's self-employed and doing one annual return at the moment will have to do more than that one annual return when this comes into play in 2023, which isn't really that far away now. So what will you need to do? You'll need to sign up for Making Tax Digital with HMRC, which is a fairly simple process to do. You will need to keep digital records. I will talk a little bit more about what that entails later. And you will need to submit your returns using HMRC compatible software. So, record keeping. So what does keeping digital records actually mean? You will need to, the information you will need to keep is the business name and contact details. So not just the business name, you have to have the contact details in there. The VAT number and details of any schemes that you use, i.e. the flat rate scheme. The rate of VAT on supplies made and received, not all VAT is at 20%, so you need to be aware of that and it needs to be recorded correctly. And the time of supply, i.e. the tax point, that has to be on your digital records. And any reverse charge VAT transactions need to be included. So this would be things that you buy from the EC, where the VAT is charged, you're paying the VAT and then claiming it back. So you would need to have those transactions recorded properly. And any expense claims where there's an element where you can claim part of the VAT back, i.e. on mileage claims, you would need to keep records for those too. So paperwork will, will be a funny word. So you won't need to keep paperwork. You can keep good quality soft copies. So it can be scanned and kept on your software or scanned and kept in your own digital file. As long as the paperwork that you have, all of the elements in there are legible, then that is the way forward. I mean, we all know the paper receipts on that thermal stuff will degrade over time. And if you went back to look at those in 7 years' time, they would have faded to nothing and you won't be able to read them anyway. So it's often a better way to keep information. Copies of all your accounting documents must be kept for 7 years. That's 6 years plus the current tax year. That's the legal requirement anyway, regardless of MTD. Payroll, however, only needs to be kept for 3 years, but there is a caveat to that. If you've had employees on furlough, any paperwork relating to the job retention scheme grants that you may have got through furloughed employees must be kept for 7 years. So that is it is a break from where the normal payroll would be kept. Right, so how does it affect the self-employed? Because there are a lot of us out there, me included, that aren't limited companies. So will it affect us? Yes, it will. You'll need to be using compatible software, so you will not be able to log into HMRC's gateway and put your information in. You have to have compatible software and file it from your software that connects to HMRC. This is where it will be really different from this for the self-employed. You'll be required to send an income and expenses summary quarterly, not just your annual return. You'll have to do it quarterly. But by doing that, you'll be able to see the estimates of any tax owed as you go along. On top of that, at the end of the tax year, you'll have to file a 5th return. So it's going from filing 1 a year, you'll be filing 5. And the final return will show the summary for the whole year. And at this point, your tax liability will be calculated. And you can also put in then any tax allowances and tax reliefs that you are entitled to work out your final tax computation. So it's going to change quite a bit for those of us that are self-employed. Just on the self-employed, while we're on the subject of self-employed, the budget is, the date for the budget is the 3rd of March. And during that budget is when the details of the 4th and final self-employed income support scheme grant will be announced. We know there's going to be a 4th one. We just don't know what percentage it's going to cover, or you know, how much it's going to entail, or what the criteria will be for applying for that. So all of that will be announced in the budget. So that's something to look out for in a couple of weeks' time. I couldn't talk about MTD without talking about Xero. Obviously, it's my passion. It's a cloud-based. It's already MTD compliant. There are subscriptions to suit all business types with direct bank feeds. It also integrates with over 800 applications, which enables you to have a really bespoke software by integrating other things into your business. There's specialist ones out there for landlords, for farm accounts and all sorts. So having the basic Xero and then integrating something else with it, give you a really bespoke system that will be useful for you. And it allows online payments for efficient cash flow. You can send your invoices. There'll be a link on there. People can click on the link and pay directly with Stripe, Go Cardless, etc. So it is a really good system. However, there are other softwares, and it wouldn't be fair to just bang the drum of Xero. It doesn't suit everybody. It's not for everybody. So here are a list of other softwares that are available for people to use. Obviously, when considering the software, consider who you want to do your bookkeeping. If you're doing it yourself, you choose what suits you. If you want a bookkeeper to help and advise you, not all bookkeepers use all software. So it might be worth having that discussion with your bookkeeper or accountant to make sure it's the software that they are using too. Thank you for listening. Has anybody got any questions?
Thank you, Wendy. Can you unshare?
Can I unshare? How do I unshare now?
Down the bottom, I think it is.
Ooh.
Where you shared.
I know, but I've got rid of that bit. Let's have a look.
At the top, if you put your cursor up to, it's a red, it'll say stop share.
Stop sharing. Stop sharing. I've stopped sharing.
Well done. Thank you. Right. Okay, everybody. Questions? Yes, Rosie, go ahead.
So firstly, sorry for switching my picture off, but I seem to be zooming across the screen, so I thought
that's fine. Not at all.
It was really good. Thank you, Wendy. So I use Xero. I'm a huge fan. Love it. And I've got an app on my phone that lets me take photos of all my receipts. So it's fantastic.
Yeah.
My question is, once I've taken my photo, I then throw it away. Obviously, you have to keep records for 7 years, six years plus the year. What happens if I stop subscribing to Xero during that 6 years?
Not that you would, because it's so fantastic. If you retire, I'm sure you're a long way from that. But if you chose to retire, anything that you have would be backed up. So if you did need to access it again, you could reinstate your subscription at any time in the future, and everything that you had would still be there.
Excellent, thank you.
Interesting question. Any other questions?
Sounds like the tax man making a lot more work for everybody.
He is. I think it's
Preferably, especially
times a
accountants.
year.
yeah.
But
I mean, at the
that's what
moment, you've got one a year, and that's all we have to worry about as self-employed people. But there'll be 5. You'll be filing 5 returns a year.
One's bad enough.
I know.
Actually, I'm surprised I'm going to say this, but doing them quarterly means that you don't have that horrible thing at the end of the year. You do them quickly, you know, fairly soon after the events.
Yeah, you'll do them quarterly, which it gives HMRC an idea of what you're earning and gives you an idea of what tax that you have to pay. But because some people's businesses are very seasonal, this is why you have to do the 5th one, which and then ties in the 4 for the year with the final figures. So the 5th one will reflect the figures in the other 4, and it's at that point that you'd apply your tax codes and any tax reliefs that you're entitled to for any assets that you've purchased, etc. And then that's when your tax is calculated. And
presumably the 5th one will just be the 4.
Yeah, it will be a combination of the previous 4 with any slight adjustments for you know, for things that need to be adjusted for at a normal year end.
Such as
if you're accrual accounting and you purchase something the month before your year end, which, like insurance, which is for the 12 months, only 1 month would go into that financial year and the other 11 months would need to be moved into the following one. So there will be sort of journals for that sort of thing that span a year end.
Yeah, because lots of things are annual payments. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay, anybody else got any questions? I was doing rooms, so I missed, when's all this happening?
For the self-employed, April 2023.
We've got a couple of years to think
about. There is a couple of years, but I feel that it would be a good idea for people to get onto to MTD compliant software in the next 12 months. So they've got 12 months of getting used to using that software and keeping digital records before they hit that deadline. There's about 30% of self-employed people that are beta testing this at the moment and already filing these returns quarterly.